Okay.
Okay. Great. We're recording. Continue.
Oh, okay. So Anna and Jacob got engaged when we were all in Hawaii over Christmas. So we are now planning another wedding, but we have pushed it out until 2022 because we are not thinking it's going to happen in 2021. And so we are actually relieved because now we can all just breathe a little bit. Oh, look at those pictures.
There you are.
Oh,
there we go.
fun. Oh gosh, you were fast, Lauren. That looks great. Great gosh. So anyway, let's see. We have, you can see the whole family together on a boat. Jacob rented a boat to surprise Anna and proposed on the boat. And it was very exciting. And there are Maddie and Josh and Anna and Jacob on the back of the boat together. And so Anna and Jacob live in LA now, and they are both working. He actually just started a company that does live streaming for synagogues and churches and houses of worship. So it's, you know, unfortunately we have this terrible pandemic, but it's actually been good for his business because people are thinking a lot more about how to live stream shows and services and meetings and things like that. So he's very busy, and she works for a company called FabFitFun, which does subscription cosmetic and lifestyle boxes. And so they're both working hard, and we just saw them. We're renting a house in Santa Monica for 8 months since we can't go anywhere else and we can't get on an airplane. So we're driving back and forth. We just came back this afternoon, and that's a quick, well, and then I'm tap dancing 5 days a week, and Matthew's working from home, and I'm doing a little bit of painting, and I think about my mom all the time when I paint, and so that is a wonderful thing. And that's us in a nutshell.
Well, thank you. That's great. So Shannon, welcome.
Hello, I made it.
You did. That's awesome. So we were gonna offer you the first slot. So we're just take a minute or two to just kind of talk about the last year or so. And yours is like amazingly wonderful and some great events. So tell us a little bit, and then I think your mom's next.
All right, I want to just take a second to announce that our matriarch has arrived.
Oh, Bobby!
Yay! Yay!
We can see the top of your head.
Yeah, see the top of your head right now.
The top of my head.
I can see your eyes.
Look.
There.
There's a beautiful face.
So Bobby,
Hey, Les.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, Rob, Marsha.
hello. So we're going around and just Shannon's going to be next and just kind of give a 1-2 minute summary of recent events.
Yep.
And then Chris, and then I'll have you follow her.
Okay.
So Shannon, you're on.
All right. Okay, so a year. What has gone on in a year? Well, our businesses have been going really well, and they've been growing nice and steadily. We've spent a lot of time last year getting our logistics locked in. So we had some supply chain issues early on that we sold out, and selling out is no good. So we fixed that problem, and now we're working on marketing, and I just finished a big project before our wedding. I did a whole rebrand for both brands, and we're coming out with new flavors of all the products. So for the CBD products, we're going to have mint, cinnamon, tropical, cola, licorice, and I think that's all of them. And then for the oral care products, we're going to have cinnamon, lemongrass, ginger, licorice, and I feel like there's one more that it always escapes my mind. Oh, we're adapting our rose chocolate mint to just be rose clove. So the price point will be a little lower because the rose and the chocolate oils are very expensive. And so that's been going great. On the company side, to manage the whole thing, my husband, Joe, has developed like a whole internal software program that manages supply chain and predicts our inventory levels that we need so we can forecast up to a year ahead of time. You know, it gets fuzzier the farther you get out. But he's made this amazing software that now he's pretty convinced that's actually where the money's at and not so much selling toothpaste. So we'll see where that goes. We already have free companies, so I'm like, no more companies. So that's kind of the business front. We've been in our beautiful little redwood house here in Santa Rosa the whole time. I would give you a tour, but I'm on a desktop, so I can't pick it up. And yeah, and then so in the meantime, we've been planning the wedding. So he proposed to me on the beach in Puerto Rico, my birthday week last December. Oh, look at the kitty. Which was amazing and wonderful. And I like totally didn't expect it, even though in hindsight, I totally should have expected it because the whole week kind of was laid out like this is a perfect time to propose to somebody. But it was also my birthday week. So I was kind of like, oh, it's my birthday week. Of course we're going out to dinner every night and staying at the fancy hotels. Makes total sense. And it was really sweet because Joe is a very cool cucumber, but when he started to propose to me, I could tell something was up because his energy was nervous, and he like never gets nervous. So I was kind of like, what's going on? I'm looking around like, is there a creepy dude around? Like, what's happening? And then he like sits in front of me on the beach. It's nighttime, but the beach is all lit up because there's a big resort there, and there's a Puerto Rican flag waving in the wind. And he proposed to me, and he proposed with his mom's original engagement ring because he wanted me to pick out what I wanted. And it was really funny because he gives me the ring, and it's like a honking gold nugget with like a 3-carat diamond. And I'm like, does he expect me to wear this? Like, it's not my style. It's super impractical for working on the computer all day long. So I'm simultaneously super excited and in the moment and stoked, and also like, oh no, how do I like reject the mom's ring as the conversation I'm going to have about this ring? Maybe I should just block this out of my mind right now and just enjoy the moment. So that was fun. And so we've been kind of ever since then planning the wedding because, we're not the springest of chickens. So we wanted to get that going. And at first, we had planned some big thing. I wanted to rent a rustic barn and have a huge party and all this stuff. And then I figured out how much that would cost and had a little bit of a breakdown. And then Joe was so sweet, and he was just like, I want you to plan a wedding that you're going to have fun the entire time, from beginning planning it to the end of it, because otherwise, why are we spending all this money? Like, okay. So we kind of reconfigured. We thought about having it in Cabo on the beach, but then that was like a whole thing for people to travel. Then I found a really beautiful resort in Kayenta where the Red Rocks are at. It was very affordable, and it was beautiful luxury resort. And the lady who was like the host was just a doll, and it was great. And then everything locked down. And so I feel super fortunate that my family, everyone is so cool and laid back, and so is Joe's family. And so we're on a Zoom call with his parents and telling them about all the crazy stuff that is going on. And his mom just goes, why don't you just have a Zoom wedding? And I was like, thank you for saying that, because like you and my mom are the two people who like I didn't want to disappoint, and it's a big thing. And so it took a lot of weight off our shoulders. And so we started planning our wedding that we had last weekend. And it ended up just being the best. It was even better than I thought it was going to be. I wasn't stressed out once. We had some of our best friends come. We curated specific friends that we knew are not very needy, like don't need to be entertained. And they all showed up, and we had a very loose itinerary, and they just took charge, and they're like, we're going to have a pre-show, and we're going to have a raffle, and we're going to tell stories. And they just made it like even better than I could have imagined. And I feel like I didn't lift a finger the whole weekend, and it was wonderful. We had a great time. And then we went kayaking on the Russian River the next day. And it was just, it was magical. It was everything I could have wanted. And so that was awesome. And then we got a really good deal on a spa resort we're going to go to. And the night before we were going to leave, Gavin Newsom shut the state down again. So we had to cancel our honeymoon, but we have a camper van. So we just hopped in the camper van and drove to Mendocino. And luckily Mendocino County isn't as restricted as Sonoma County. So we found a winery and went wine tasting, and we were the only people there, and just drove through the redwoods and had a great time. We found a beautiful seafood restaurant on the wharf in Fort Bragg and ate the biggest bowl of tuna you could ever possibly find. So it ended up being awesome. So that brings me up to now.
Excellent,
Nice,
excellent.
yeah.
Nice to hear.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then
Thank you.
bride of the or the mother of the bride. Let's hear a little from you.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I agree. That wedding was magical. I think it's the new way to do weddings. It was really great. And the past year, I've been here in St. George with Mom, and we're happy to have David here too, and Mike's here. And I've been working and taking some trips before COVID started. Went to Hawaii for my birthday last year. That was wonderful. And that's it. And we were super excited about Shani's wedding. It was very, very nice. And I'm sure you'll love the pictures. That's about it.
Okay. Thank you.
I miss seeing everybody though. It's kind of sad not to be able to see everybody in person, but this is really fun to have it on Zoom.
Yeah.
Good, good, good. And let's hear from the mother of the bride, our matriarch.
You have to unmute yourself. Mom.
You're muted right now. Yeah. So I don't know, Lauren, if you can do it there.
I can only ask to unmute.
Oh, okay.
You have to
I'm
click
being
something to
attacked.
unmute yourself, Mom.
Bring your cursor down to the bottom and it's in the bottom left-hand corner.
Oh, you're good.
Oh,
Yep.
mine was in the center.
There you go. That's it.
Okay.
You're on.
Did you get it?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're
Did I
good.
get it?
Yes,
Yeah.
you did. Perfect.
Okay. Well, I go back to February. I went to a Roots Tech, which is genealogy conference here in Salt Lake City with Lauren. And then I spent 2 weeks at Lauren's house, and she drove me all the way home at the beginning of the pandemic. And one day, and drove all the way back home the second day. And so I have been quarantined since the middle of March, and as everybody else, I guess. So life has been very quiet. David came and brightened up my life, and I love having him here. I'll let him tell you what's going on with him, but
Nothing.
he says nothing.
Not true.
We are living a very quiet life, let me tell you.
I'll put up some pictures. Oops.
Okay, that's about it.
Good,
Okay. Thank you. Excellent.
I play a new game called Pegs and Jokers once a week with 3 other friends across the street, and that's my highlight of my week.
Grandma, you forgot about me.
Oh, I forgot about Ethan. He's the highlight of my week.
There you go.
But who
Heck of a game.
cares? I got a kitten.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's been going on with me. Nope, stop it.
Okay, Lauren, you want to fill the rest out? We
I'm
heard about the kids.
gonna be talking a long time, so I'm gonna hand it over to my better half.
Okay, excellent.
You got to unmute though, bub.
Why don't we just go ahead with the program? You know, the most important thing's happened to us is we got a cat. So
We got, absolutely. It's a great looking
Travel
cat.
to Ireland, we got a cat.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty exciting.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just do a quick, I don't remember what happened before the pandemic. I mean, I can't even remember. That was a different lifetime. But if you want to throw those pictures up,
I will.
we've got one of Matt and Dan, and we're down in San Diego, and we're just having a great time down there.
Can you get in?
Waiting for him to let me in.
Oh, Lauren, are you the host?
I am.
David's waiting for you to let him in.
Okay, let me see, because I didn't see him.
Yeah.
Kittens.
Kittens.
Cute pictures, Warlocks.
Hold on just a second. Why is it not coming up?
You can just talk to them.
I can't get back to the meeting itself.
In the chat? Is that what? No, I think it's the participants. Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Admit.
Good, good.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to screen share. I don't see.
Okay, owner's coming up. All right.
Anybody see David yet?
Yep, there he is.
Okay.
So we spent some time in San Diego. That was a great family time. And then the other picture is
Yep.
some of these people you know less or have spent less time with. And it includes Adrian. And so I'll go from left to right. That's Maddie, and then Adrian, and then Maxine. And then behind Maxine is Kaylin, and that's Maddie's husband. And those guys were married, it's going to be 2 years.
Yeah.
In November.
So that's
And-
Adrian and her 2 daughters.
Yeah. And 25 and 23, I think. Yeah. And then Marsh and me and Matt. So, and that's a winery in Yamhill County here. So, I'm working from home, been doing this home thing for 10 years, so it's not too different. Marsha's been out of the school. The school's been able to operate, which is phenomenal. And very special circumstance. And so,
But I'm working from home.
yeah, she's working from home. And Matt is gone back to school, finishing out prereqs for nursing. And Dan is on a plane right now flying into Florida, believe it or not. They've got a shoot, and they're going to be very, very careful and get out of there after 4 or 5 days and come back to LA. So, yeah, Matt's still working, kind of started working as in licensed massage therapy again in the chiropractic office. And Dan's looking to get going again in the movie industry. So that's about it for us. And I think it's about time for some history. Oh, yeah. David, do you want to add anything in?
Oops.
David, you want to add anything?
Fabulous.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey!
Hello.
Hey.
Oh, there's
Oh,
Andrew.
nice,
Yep.
nice.
There's Dave.
Okay, cute.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, and
You're
here's
so
Mom's
selfish.
page.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful dog,
Fun trip.
beautiful lady,
Very
beautiful
nice.
view. That's excellent.
All right.
That
Well,
was such a fun trip.
who has anything else to say? We can
I'm bleeding.
get on with everything. And if you wouldn't mind muting unless you want to ask a question, because I won't be able to see the chat while I've got my PowerPoint up. So mute yourself for now. And then if you have a question about something, unmute and interrupt me. And so I have to apologize ahead of time. I put some audio in this at one time because I was practicing trying to create a video to send out to all of you. And I didn't find all the places where I put the audio. And so it may come up from time to time. I'll just try and shut it up. Anyway, so this was some research
The
that,
family and friends of.
oh, yep, see, there we go. Some research that Mom started, and I just got to kind of do the fun part on. And you probably saw this slide as our little teaser slide. And I just wanted to stop for a minute here, and if I can move these pictures out of the way, they're kind of in my way of seeing the slides. Okay. So it kind of makes sense the way it is. You know, a lot of these people. And so Gordon Craig is our immigrant ancestor up here. And the line that it comes through goes to his daughter Jane, her daughter Mary Josephine, and then her daughter Yara, and then to Papa. And he immigrated from Downpatrick, Ireland. And I just thought I'd do a couple of pictures to show the line and some nice pictures of husband and wife. And I didn't realize that this was Yara. I've seen this picture forever, but I never realized who that was. I guess I never asked. But that is Yara. And I think all of the cousins remember great-granddad, and that was Howard DeWolf Brainard. And this was Yara's mom, Mary Josephine Bush, and she was married to Eduardo Ester, our famous Cuban cigar shop owner relative. And he and his family immigrated from Spain to Cuba when Cuba was a Spanish colony. And I told Rob the other night that the family lore was that Eduardo was killed in Mexico with like shot or something. And Mom and I actually found out at this genealogy conference with the help of a Spanish speaking researcher that it turns out he may have just died from a stroke, but there was a big lawsuit trying to get his belongings back out of Mexico for years and years. So that was kind of interesting. So Mary Josephine's mother was Mary Jane Craig, and she was the daughter of Gordon Craig. She was born in New York, in a little town called Olive, New York. And her dad was Gordon Craig. He was our immigrant guy. And I don't have any pictures, unfortunately. I've searched and searched, but this was his house in Olive, New York. And it is actually a historical home there. And in their last bicentennial, they did a big quilt, and the quilters included his home as one of the squares on the quilt. And I found that just doing some internet research. But Gordon was the first supervisor of Olive, New York. And he was in that office for many years and was later elected to be the first representative to the state legislature. He was also the first postmaster in his town, and at the same time, he ran the only store in town. He died kind of young. He actually died a little bit before his father died in Ireland. There were many of the Craig family in Ireland that died in that same decade, all in the 30s. It was kind of a little bit weird. So Gordon left Downpatrick in about 1799, from what I can tell in the records. And it was during, I found out, something called the 1798 Rebellion. It's a famous war that happened in Ireland. And as most all of the wars in Ireland were, this one was about, going against the British royalists by the townspeople and farmers. The native Irish people rejected their laws, but Gordon's father, Rowland Craig, was a wealthy merchant and also had kind of authority over the land of the certain area, so he collected rents from the tenant farmers there. So he was one of the gentry. So this is kind of funny. It's funny to me, but there's a book that was written, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, by a man that was a contemporary of Gordon's father, Rowland.
I think that's pronounced Roland.
Is it Roland? Okay. So Roland had a contemporary who was kind of like it was like a gossip columnist almost. He wrote a little book called The Notable Inhabitants of Downpatrick. And the thing he had to say about Gordon and his brother was that they were both attached to drink and went to America. And that's all he says about them. And but the timing of it with it being right during this rebellion, and the fact that Gordon's father's home and businesses were turned into a military barracks during this time. And so it kind of seems like it would have been a good time to leave. He's just an 18-year-old boy, probably, I don't know, he could have been conscripted unless he left. I don't know. We don't know. But Mom found out, the way that we found Gordon's family, Mom had found all the way up to Gordon, but she had this letter among a bunch of stuff that Nanny and Papa gave her. And it was to Gordon, and he kept it. It was from November of 1822, and it had all these family members mentioned. And your brother so-and-so is doing great, and so-and-so isn't doing so great. And it was signed by your friend Rao and Craig. And it wasn't until I did some more research and looked at all the names and everything that we realized that's a letter from his father. And so all these people he's talking about, Gordon's aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters, and it's an awesome, awesome letter. And on the far left, the notes here were written by Gordon's brother John, who stayed in Ireland. He was the eldest son and the heir to Roland. And that we'll learn a lot more about why that's interesting. Okay, so here's a little bit of a family tree. This right here is Gordon's father. And I found some articles about him because he was in the gentry. There was an article in the Belfast newspaper about the Craigs of Downpatrick. And it told all about where they came from and who the parents were and how the land got distributed and everything. So an interesting thing I think I texted Leslie about was that turns out the Craigs from Downpatrick descended from some brothers, Craig brothers, that came from Scotland during the religious persecutions. And they descended from Dr. John Craig, who's very well-known partner and successor to John Knox, who is the famous Protestant reformer. Looking over here on the left, Roland was married to Margaret Bigham, that's Gordon's mom. John Craig was the oldest brother and heir. Here's Gordon. And Robert is the one that also was attached to drink and moved to America. But we're going to talk more now about John Craig's posterity, because his son is the one that built the castle that we visited. So just remember how it goes. Roland is the grandpa. This is Roland Sr., then John. And then John has 5 kids. Only 2 of them survive, 2 boys. And his son's name is Roland also. So I'll call him Roland Jr. Okay. I won't take time to read this. It's just really kind of cool little excerpts of the letter that the father Roland wrote to Gordon. And you guys all get copies of this so you can read the whole letter if you want to. But the thing that's really cool are the pictures, because this is a picture that was a portrait that was in the castle when we visited. And this is John Craig, Gordon's brother. So pretty cool. It was so exciting to visit after I had done all this research and read about all these people. So this is the gossip columnist. This is the National Enquirer of Downpatrick. And he was wrote this book that I still want to buy. I haven't gotten it yet because there's 3 of our relatives, Roland Jr., John, and Roland Sr. are all mentioned, plus all of their kids are all mentioned. But he said a lot of things about Roland Sr., but the one thing he said, he lived a long and respectable life and had the good fortune to be joined to a sensible, virtuous, and amiable woman. As are, Rob and Pete and Matthew and, and Mike. Okay, this is another thing that he said about Roland. When he was a young man, Roland Craig came to Downpatrick and took a house in Irish Street. And this picture is Irish Street, and there's this long row of these really cool places. It's the main hall in Downpatrick. And he married Margaret Bigham, opened a grocer shop and a bakery shop, which were afterwards employed as a barracks. He gave up the shop and bakery and started a tanning business. And blah, blah, blah. There was some other part, some other part of that I wanted.
Tanning business.
tanning business. Well, not like California.
They tan hides.
Oh. I was gonna say.
Good question, David. Good question. Oh, funny. Okay, so but he lived for 92 years. He had like 4 or 5 brothers that all lived from 87 to like 95 years. So had good longevity. This is kind of a neat resource that I found where he is mentioned as Roland Craig Esquire in Irish Street, part of the nobility, gentry, and clergy. This is an old map of Downpatrick. This is the cathedral. We're going to see more of that. And then Irish Street is right here. So his shop and his house were just down this street right here. His obituary is really cool. I'll let you read that when you have more time, but just talked about how he was one of the oldest and most respectable inhabitants of Downpatrick and distinguished for his hospitality and good feeling. And to the public charities of Downpatrick, he was a liberal contributor. And that's what I wanted to get to because...
Sounds like Papa.
Yeah, it does. It's in his genes. He was a liberal contributor to the Down Cathedral because this cathedral in one way or another had been there since the 1100s. I think that's another view from a different angle. This right here, Belfast is kind of like right up, I think here, and this is Downpatrick right here.
Gordon was born in 1782 in
so there's the audio.
Downpatrick in
and there we go. Okay, so here's a little bit closer. So you drive from Belfast down to Downpatrick. And Pete, do you remember how long it took us to drive there? It was just country road.
45 minutes.
It was beautiful. It was breathtaking. We were thrilled. Okay, so here's the cathedral. The cathedral was built in the, I think, in the 1100s. It had been destroyed many times by famous conquerors like John de Courcy and who was the famous English guy? I can't remember, it doesn't matter. But in the late 1700s, early 1800s, it was being rebuilt in this manner right here as it stands. And Roland Sr. was one of the main contributors to the rebuilding of it. And because of that, this is another slide. And when you get the slide, this links to a video on YouTube that takes you on a tour and tells you some history about it. Inside the nave, this picture, oops, go back up. This picture down here shows you kind of where it is, but the front altar is along this area over here. This is our family crest. This is the Craig-Laurie family crest. And it's up there because Roland Sr. was such a great contributor to the cathedral. The reason it's called Craig-Laurie, his wife Margaret inherited a castle and property in Scotland from Walter Laurie, Reverend Walter Laurie. And because she was like the grand niece or something. And because they then had that estate as well, Roland Sr. Created a hyphenated last name. So he became Roland Craig-Laurie, and that passed down through his heirs. So to John and then to Roland Jr. This cathedral is famous because it's also the burial place of St. Patrick. And the video that I linked has a really cool story about that burial. There's, let's see, here. I wanted to mention this. These are all plaques to the Wallace family. And we'll talk a little bit more about them, but basically they are the family that ended up inheriting the castle from our family. And so they were even bigger contributors to the cathedral. And there's a really cool, rich history about the Wallace family. So they're linked to our family. There should be a little bit of video on these. So
all right, I'm taking video. Here's Sharon, our friend that so beautifully has helped us out so much, and Pete. And that plaque behind them is of the Wallaces, who inherited Myra after Colonel John Craig. And I just want to show how beautiful
Nod your head if you can hear the video audio.
I can hear it. It's really good.
He is the crazy descendant. Hey, honey, don't take my heart. I'm not.
We were escorted out of the church after that dance that Ethan did in there.
They were so gracious to us. I had corresponded with that Sharon lady who is the assistant to the dean of the chapel, and the dean was there to take us on a tour and show us all kinds of things, and he ended up opening up the old church burial books, and we saw our relatives' death dates and burial information in the old books. It was really cool. Here's the other side of...
The gentleman up there that's playing the music, I think just because we're here, they're being so kind to us. Just showing us all around. And Mom, the coat of arms for us is right there. That's the Craig-Laurie coat of arms. And that was donated by Gordon as well. The money that plaque represents was donated by our fifth great grandfather, Roland Craig.
Okay.
And there's a gentleman on the right.
There. All right. This was the dean of the cathedral, Dean Hull. This right here is an interesting story. I'll tell it fast. There was a great big beautiful cross that was marking St. Patrick's grave, and it has long since been destroyed. But the box that it stood in is this box. And at one of the reconstructions, they ended up digging it up and somehow came into the hands of the Wallace family. And so Colonel Wallace donated that to the cathedral, and now they perform their baptisms in there. But in the documentation, in some historical documentation, it shows that our family donated it to the church, but I think it was the Wallaces. There's a replica of the cross that used to stand inside that box. And this rock is the one that's been there back since Patrick's Day. And it marks St. Patrick's grave. This is Padraig in whatever language that is. Okay, this is a little bit of a view from the outside of the cathedral. They have this really cool old burial grounds all around it. Okay, so now we're moving on to, this is Roland Craig Sr., his oldest son, John, and his heir, and then John's oldest son, Roland Craig-Laurie. And what did I want to say about that? John Craig died just 5 months after his dad did. And so the inheritance of that Redcastle Scottish estate that Roland's wife, Margaret, inherited, that went to John, and then it went to Roland, the son. Whoops. And so Roland inherited the land that Myra is on, which is in Ireland, but he also had the estate in Scotland. Okay, inside the castle, we saw these pictures. They walked us in and they brought us to the altar, or not the altar, the mantle. And this right here is John's wife. This is John, the portrait of John. This is John's wife, Jane Anderson. And I don't know which one's Roland and which one's John, the two sons that survived. The three daughters had all died by this time. John was clerk of the peace in Ireland for about 20-something years. And he had some notes on there that I can't even.
Sweetheart, can I jump in here and share something to give context to this castle thing?
Yeah.
This was one of the really cool parts of Lauren's research, is the castle isn't in your family line anymore. This guy in this picture that you're looking at, he bequeathed it to Colonel Wallace. And
this guy right here, this guy's son, Roland, actually, no, John bequeathed it because Roland died, the castle went to John.
Okay, so
yeah.
let me just tell what Lauren won't tell you. So it moves to the Wallace family. So in 1840-ish, it leaves your family line.
It's
and
like
it goes in.
It was built in 1843. but yeah.
Okay, so shortly thereafter, it leaves your family line. It goes into the Wallace family line. So so it's a privately held castle today. You can't take tours of it. It's not open, it's nothing. But we find out about this, and Lauren puts all this together. So she gets an Airbnb that's like a mile down the road from this, or less, and starts talking to the lady that runs the Airbnb. And the people, the descendants of the Wallace family, are from London, and they have maintained the castle. Get this, they've kept it period perfect from the 1840s.
From the time it came into their
So when you walk in there, all the furniture, all the tapestries, all the oil paintings are from 1840, 1850. And they've kept it in perfect condition since then. But here's the great part of it. We get this Airbnb with this lady, and she goes, nobody talks to those people. Nobody knows them. Nobody connects with them. And Lauren says, listen, I've done all this research. I want to write it out. So she sends this multi-page letter to this lady. And this lady gets the guts up to go down there and find them and say, this is one of your, contemporaries today. She's descended from the people that built the castle, and she wanted me to get this to you. So she gives it to him. And Lauren, when they wrote back to you, how many days was it before we left for the British Isles, or wasn't it just a few weeks before?
Like maybe 2 or 3 days before we left. And
go ahead.
And yeah, so I just mentioned that we were going to be there on a certain day, and I said, so we'll probably drive past because we're staying at, the Owens' home, and we'll probably take a selfie in front of the castle. And but I didn't want to say, can we go on a tour? I just wanted to say, I thought you would really love to get some more of this history about the builders of your home, and I hope you enjoy it as much as, and I hope you don't think it's weird, blah, blah, blah. And he wrote back by email the nicest, most gracious invitation. Oh, please come. We'll take your family on a tour, and you need to come. I'm so excited. And you've got a lot of history that we didn't realize. We heard the story wrong from our family. And he also mentioned that that he descended from the Wallaces, who and I was like, oh my gosh, you guys were like family, So it was just.
But what was incredible is they just start pulling out the books and all this stuff. And literally, Lauren was filling in her research as earlier as that same day when we were in Down Cathedral meeting with the rector. And they looked at Lauren and they said, where did you get this? And she said,
pulled out the books.
The rector at Downpatrick at the cathedral pulled this out and was showing it to me this morning.
Yeah, the gentlemen that live there and own the castle are David and Michael Good. Michael is the son, David's the father. And David is the great-grandson of Colonel Wallace. And anyway, and they both go to church at the cathedral. So that was kind of cool. Anyway, so this is more of the gossip columnist's little words about. He gives a scathing report about John, the oldest son of Roland Sr. And this is a little bit entertaining, so I'm going to take the time to read it. For many years, he sought the company and enjoyed the pleasures of the table to excess, by which he became corpulent, which I had to look up means fat, and latterly unhealthy. But as pernicious habits are difficult to lay aside, even the present infliction of impaired health and the almost certain prospect of approximate death were unable to conquer those several pleasures which in him triumphed over every consideration. Anyway, so he goes on to say he died at the dinner table in Dublin. And his son was nominated to be the clerk of the peace after him. So Roland Jr. became the clerk of the peace, which was very well-paying and prestigious job. And he says, he was not without good qualities, but there was in his nature a vindictiveness, an involuntary persecuting disposition, injurious to his own peace in this sojourn. And then he says, blah, blah, blah. Died and remains. He indulged greatly in eating. It's like he wants to make the point over and over again. Shortened his life very materially. Yeah, anyway, I'll let you read that. So these were some of the pictures that were over the mantle. This is the picture of Roland Jr. This is their mom, Jane Anderson, and her two sons. There is Colonel John Craig. I don't know which one. I think this is John. I don't know. And there's a closer up picture of Jane in that same picture. And Roland. This is what Mr. Pilson had to say about Roland. And this is kind of just, there's just informational stuff. And he talks about, you know, he inherited the Redcastle estate in Scotland, and he married his first cousin, Jane Anderson. So it was his mother's brother's daughter that he married. And that brother, I can't remember, Richard Forrester, I think was his name. And Richard Forrester Anderson. He lived in an old beat up castle on the property that the new castle is now on. And when Roland married his daughter, Jane Anderson, Roland inherited that land all around the old castle. The old castle is called Walshestown. And he improved it tremendously and built this beautiful big castle on it. So there's the old Walshestown, the remains of the Walshestown castle. And you can just barely see it. I think that's it right there. This is from the windows of the new castle, and this is kind of a cool view. This is the working horse and stables and all of that. This is the castle itself right here. This right here is the house of the Airbnb that we stayed at, the Owens' home. So isn't that cool? It was just like a miracle that we found this Airbnb right there.
Can I make a quick comment here, hon, real quick? You guys keep hearing that Colonel Wallace is, you know, military, and then the other guy's military. And the reason that these guys are all military is because there was the Irish Rebellion of 1798. There was another Irish Rebellion in 1803. So all of these guys were the landed class, and they were, how do I want to say this? They were the only people that could hold legal offices. They were the landowners, and they were responsible for helping quarter the British troops and engaging the British troops to quench the rebellion. And the estimate is between 10 and 30,000 Irishmen were killed when they quashed the rebellion. So the military feel, and when you go through the castle, it's all military. Like Colonel Wallace, he looks like one tough dude. So that's just to give you period context of what's going on here.
Yeah, and that will come up a little bit later. I'm gonna show you a path that is essentially right through here. And there is an underground tunnel that you will see later that goes right through here.
And I get to tell you about it.
Yeah, Ethan gets to tell you about it.
Yay, I'm appreciated.
Okay, so just a couple of videos. I'll show these quickly because they're nice and short.
Oh, the dog just fell off the couch.
This is the street. We're just about to go past the entrance to Myra Castle. This is Myra Road. And the castle is on the other side of this hedge, at least the estate that the castle is on. And hopefully it'll be light enough that we can take pictures of the castle when we go.
Okay. Close that. And let's just go to this one.
Hey, Mama, take a look. Is that so cool? That's Myra Castle.
Okay. And they have an entrance. It's not worth seeing. I'll let you look at it when you get the thing. It's just like this weird pink peachish color. It's strange. Okay, and this was when we were greeting. This is Michael, the son of David. David is not in these pictures, but he greeted us. He was coming out from the fields where the cows had gotten into the wet, marshy grassland, and so they were making all kinds of marks. This is his great-great-grandfather, Colonel Wallace, the one that inherited the castle from our family. Oh, that was the entrance right there, this weird entrance here. Okay. Pictures from inside the castle. This is Colonel John, who inherited Myra from his brother Roland, and then he didn't have any kids, neither did Roland Jr. And so John decided he lived until like the late 1800s and worked presumably with Colonel Wallace. And the rumor that we heard from David and Michael is that he was kind of sweet on Colonel Wallace's young bride. And even though he was probably like in his 70s or 80s, that influenced him wanting to give the castle to Colonel Wallace. These were from a book that David was showing me of early pictures of the castle, and the bathing area that he was talking about when he was talking to me is like right down in here. This is Ethan and David coming in. This is the first thing, whoops, that's the first thing that you see when you enter, and this goes up the tower. That stairway goes all the way up the tower. Okay, here is the video. This is relatively quick. And anybody that has audio on, tell me is it working?
First set, and we saw the first set, which got back as far as that. I hope they were going to tell the last stories right. We thought that the Craig-Lauries had come from Scotland, but I think they were here, and maybe inherited.
Could possibly have knocked around.
It's really choppy video, sorry. Is it working, hun?
Yeah, it's not working. Just go on.
They're not working?
I want to hear about Ethan's story too, Lolo, so don't forget.
Okay, well, that is...
Being attacked by the man.
That's been called baby.
Ow! No, you're biting my neck.
Oh, wait. We got to go back a little ways. Okay. Ethan, you want to tell us about it while we're watching?
She's got her bucket of milk and comes straight back.
So this tunnel was essentially servants. Not because it was fast or anything, is because the owners of the castle, they wanted to like not see the servants running across the fields of grass and stuff when they went to get milk and harvest wheat and do all the things that servants do. And that also has like a wine cellar kind of thing, or I can't remember what it is exactly, but there's some like cellars before it that we went through, and they're big. Like these people had a lot of money. I'll just say that.
So Pete is telling me that the videos don't work very well, so I'm just going to kind of zoom through a little bit. And I'm going to pause right here to let you know, this is the part of the castle that was used most for the different scenes that were filmed for the Game of Thrones. So a lot of the improvements to this area, they spent like $200,000 for, the Game of Thrones people did, to improve and make this look a little bit better for their filming. There's a bell tower right over here that Ethan got to go over and ring the bell tower, and that it's just really
Wait, can I say something?
Yes.
Okay, so when I held onto the rope to ring the bell, I had to use all my weight, and it was hard, I'll tell you that. But after, man, those people had to be seriously tough, because after I got these like rope splinters in my hands, and they wouldn't go away for like 2 weeks. This is terrible.
Okay, so I'm gonna zoom a little more.
I'll shut up.
Okay, there's David ringing the bell with Michael, and there's Pete. Okay. All right, we'll just end it right there and close out if I can figure out how to do it. escape.
While you're doing that, I'm going to make a quick comment here. We just bonded with these people. It was just a wonderful visit. They couldn't have been more gracious and nice. And I just got really straight with them. And I said, we've seen so many castles that have fallen into disrepair and stuff like that. And they go, it's the challenge for all of us. And I said, how do you pay for all this? And they go through a procedure with these production companies, and they have to give a grant to their charitable foundation, and then they pay for like a daily rental to use it. And they did the inside of the castle one time. The inside of the castle was incredible. They did it one time for a production company, and then they said, we'll never do that again. And so that's in effect how they pay for the improvements, the new roofs, and you name it, all the different things they have to do for upkeep and maintenance.
So there's not very much more, and I know we've already gone pretty long, but this is really kind of cool if you have a few more minutes. Here is where Myra Castle is. This is the Strangford Loch, which is just beautiful. There's like a little yacht club over in this area. But just very short distance, I want to say it's like maybe 3 miles or less, is this very famous church called Saul Church. It's this tiny little church that actually was rebuilt rather recently, but it's on the site of the very first church that St. Patrick ever built when he landed in Ireland and began his Christian mission. And his first convert was right on this particular spot as well. And so it's a very special place. It's really, really cool. And let me see if I can move my picture so I can see my screen a little bit better. Okay. You'll see here's the church here. They still have meetings there now, and Michael and David attend at this church as well as the Downpatrick Cathedral. This gate right here, take notice of, because you're going to see that in just a minute, a little bit more. That's just some of the grounds around.
All right, Craig family descendants. We are now at our family burial ground in Saul, Downpatrick. This is Saul Church. It is built on top of the site where St. Patrick had his very first church, which was actually a barn. That crypt that you see the gate for right there, that gate, surrounds our family Craig-Laurie crypt, where the Laurie Craig brothers and their wife, well, Roland's wife, Jane, was buried. And it is just so beautiful. I can't believe it.
Okay. So this is just a little bit of video of the crypt itself.
So this is the burial crypt of...
Before I let it go on, can you guys see is the video running okay? Can you hear it and see it okay?
Not really.
Okay.
It's choppy for me, but I can see it.
Okay.
The videos don't do it.
Oh, Pete's saying that it's not that great. Well, I'm just gonna run so you can just see some of the stills in front of it.
Great cousin, no. Yeah, cousin, I guess. This is Gordon's nephews, John and Roland Craig. And they took on the last name of Laurie also, so it's Craig-Laurie. And
that's basically it. And down here on the other side, there is a door down into the crypt, and Michael and David Good have the key to that door. So we kept telling Ethan, we're going to send you in there. You're the only one small enough to fit in that door. You're going to have to go check it out for us.
Mom, you know I would have never done it.
Burial crypt?
No matter how cool it is. Uh-oh.
Anyway.
Buddy, what have you done?
What? Oh, okay.
Mom, Buddy did something to the PC. He absolutely destroyed
it. Go ahead and mute yourself.
I can't mute myself. He got it off of Zoom.
All right. Anyway, so the rest of the pictures that I have in here are just surrounding properties and our touring about. So I won't subject you to our travel log. This was inside the house of the bed and breakfast that we stayed. They were right on the lock. It was so cool. And then we drove the Antrim coast the next day. And if you haven't been to Ireland, you need to go. Just absolutely breathtaking. Oh, that was my favorite thing we saw in Belfast. The sign, they really have that sign. It's the elderly people crossing. Oh, then we went back to England after that. Okay, so I'm gonna escape and stop sharing if I can figure out how. Okay, back again. So
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, that was great.
Awesome.
That was amazing, Lauren. What an incredible amount of work you did, and what a treasure for our family. That is just so cool.
So fun. I am just addicted to it. I'm weirdly attracted to our dead relatives.
Wow, it's so cool to know where we came from,
Yeah.
and to be able to go there and feel a connection to them and see where our ancestors live. That's just spectacular.
This is a unique case too, because usually you can't find so much information, like personal information about the people that you're studying. You can find death dates.
Right, but that gossip, I mean, that was,
it was awesome, huh?
it all to life.
That's great, yeah.
When Ken and I went to New York, to Olive, New York, we were not greeted anywhere nearly as warmly as Lauren was greeted in Ireland. And I was looking for Gordon Craig's home. Nobody told me that there was a home still standing in Olive that was his. And it was such a contrast.
The miracle of the internet.
Yeah.
Didn't find anything. So yeah, we did. I won't bore you with the details, but the year before we did this with Pete's line. His Arendt line goes back to Luxembourg, and we found the family that his immigrant ancestor descended from, and it was the same kind of just. I mean, we didn't go to a castle or a house, didn't find that kind of stuff, but just being able to connect back. It's weird how personal it becomes, how much you just feel like they really are your family, even though they're, hundreds of years before, and really cool.
Wow. Wow. So are you going to send us this presentation, or because I was writing some notes, but then I realized I am not absorbing all of this, and I would love to be able to go back and really figure it out.
So we're recording it right now. It'll probably be long. And so, your kids maybe or maybe won't want to, listen to the recording of it. But what I'll do also is maybe Dropbox the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, that'd be great.
Some of the links and stuff like that. And read the, the letters, and so, yeah.
Yeah.
Where is that letter, Lauren? Did you give it back?
I still have it, Mom. No, I never got it. You just sent me pictures of it. So you still have it in all of your stuff.
Oh, okay.
Can I say
you used it to light the barbecue?
David says we used it to light the barbecue.
I want to say something too about Lauren here and doing this research. And, I don't know how much she does during the daytime and how much she does at nighttime, but I do know that if I wake up at 2 in the morning to go to the bathroom or whatever, that Lauren will be over there tapping away on her computer, searching for stuff. And I want to put everybody on notice that if there's anything you're trying to hide in your past, or Lauren will find it. It's unbelievable the stuff she finds and how she puts this stuff together. It's just incredible. I'll tell you one little story on my line, just to illustrate. I began to worry about this genealogist in Luxembourg his name was Gerard. She wouldn't talk to me when she went to bed at night. She was always so excited. She was digging away, and I'd go to sleep, and then I'd wake up, and in the morning she wouldn't get up and kiss me or say anything. The first thing she'd do is flip her computer open to see if she'd gotten a message from Gerard. Her and Gerard were on this thing, and it was wild. I called him her boyfriend, but
we got to meet Gerard. We went and had
fantastic guy
with him at the deli. He's a great genealogy researcher, so he was awesome. You know who's the next genealogy researcher though? Is that Shannon Winke right there. She's getting the bug.
I love it. Lauren's always texting me little things she finds, and I get so excited. We get all nerdy on each other and like, tell me more.
We share our ancestry accounts. So Shannon's got her own little tree on my ancestry account.
I mean, I've got a pretty good.
Wait, what's the website that you use?
I use two. Well, I use a bajillion, but the main two where I keep everything is Family Search and Ancestry.
And can we go on that and have our own account and connect to you somehow?
Yeah, Family Search is free, and you just it's the difference between the two is on Family Search, everybody is contributing to one big human life tree. And so they're trying to connect everybody to, you know, Adam or whatever.
Oh, cool.
On Ancestry, everybody creates their own individual tree, which is nice because then nobody can mess up the work that you do.
Okay, in case they put something wrong in or.
So I usually do all my work on Ancestry, and then there's a way that you can transfer it all to Family Search, and so that it's, you know, on there too. But Family Search is free. Ancestry you have to pay for.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all there. And there's a lot more there than I ever put in any PowerPoint. There's just tons of resources. And like Gordon Craig was arrested as a alien something or other. He had to be put on the list because he was a British royalist during, you know, just right very soon after the American Revolution. And he was already living in America. So they had to put him on the watch list.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of really cool stuff.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that is just
you guys for being interested in staying on so long. This is the funnest part about doing it, is being able to share it.
Absolutely. It's so nicely done. Yeah, the graphics, the maps, that really helps put us there. We really know just where it is. Okay, I want to go there. I want to see
it. Do it. Do
so,
it.
Yeah.
I will give you Michael's email, and he will probably welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, Lo, I really liked how you showed the family trees. That like really helped me kind of map all the people to like how I'm actually related to them, and you can, you know, visually in my mind, like, okay, well, that is like third generation back, and
yeah,
that was really helpful. And the pictures of the people.
Yeah. It's so crazy when you see like a fan chart where, you know, you start with one person and then their parents and then both parents of those parents, and then, you know, it starts and you end up having, when you get to like 7th generation, you have a gajillion people that you descend from. And so it's really cool. There's all different countries represented, and a lot of United Kingdom, mostly, you know, Western Europe for us, and like super far American, way far back for all of us. So, or for, you know, anyway, the Brainard line.
I don't understand how our family is so good looking and all those other people are so weird looking.
The good genes.
Good genes.
Yeah.
That was Nanny's influence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one, Les.
Do you ever do anything with her line? Have you followed her line at all, Nanny's?
Mom has done a bunch of Nanny's line, and actually that same trip we visited, Mom, what's the town again? Stoke-upon-Trent in Northern England. And I didn't do as much because I found so much about the Irish people. I didn't have time to study as much about Nanny's people, the Hollingsheads.
Oh, yeah.
Hollingshead Smith and Hannah Eldridge Gray Baker. Thomas was the one that came from England, and he was a reverend, very predominant one in back east. And so we went to the church where he was probably baptized, and where he may have married his first wife, who we did not descend from. But I can show you pictures. Actually, I think the pictures of that are on this PowerPoint too. So when you get the PowerPoint, look for those.
Oh, good.
So, Lauren, your grandfather Smith, Nanny's father, whenever he talked about his mother, he always said, Hannah Eldridge Gray Baker Smith, the champagne pie-eating grandmother of New England.
That's right, Mom. So granddad was Nanny's dad. That wasn't Howard DeWolf, right?
No, Howard was Papa's dad.
Yes. And so the granddad that I remember being at Nanny and Papa's house was Nanny's dad.
Right.
Great grandpapa, Mel.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think our generation ever knew Howard.
No.
No. Howard died in 1930, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so you didn't even know Howard?
No.
Okay.
It's really cool for me, being a generation younger, to hear you guys talk about people that I never met, that you know. Like, I know Nanny and Papa. I remember going Christmas at their house. But then, you know, there was another mysterious relative that you guys all remember. It's cool to hear stories about them.
Ask all the questions while we're still alive.
I know.
Good advice.
I need to clone myself so I have more time to do these kind of fun things.
Yeah. You get hooked on genealogy and your life is not your own.
It's so interesting to learn all the different stories and how people are connected. And, you know, what's cool about what Lauren has done is she's done a whole bunch of different family members. And since I have access to her account, I can go see everybody. And so I can go down paths of, you know, people I'm not really related to, but I'm kind of related to, and see where they came from and have the stories of their ancestors and how many kids they had and how many kids died and where they moved from and who was in what war. And it's just super fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And Lauren, you've done a lot of work on the bomb side.
Well, I try, but I can't get past that William guy. But a lot of William's kids were Civil War soldiers, and there's some crazy stories about those guys. So that's fun.
So early 1800s.
Yeah, William is the earliest I can get to, and I think he or his parents were the immigrant from Germany, and you know, that's Grandpa Baum's family line, and they were in Pennsylvania, in Chester County.
It's really interesting how different countries have different levels of information about people. So if you go to like the UK, there's tons of information about anybody of any prominence. But then like Joe, my husband's mom, is Italian. Nothing. It's like
try and do Cuba with, you know, Fidel Castro there now. Yeah. It's hard when you've got the languages too. Like when we did Luxembourg, they speak French and German, and their church records are in Latin. So
and they have Luxembourg.
Translate all the time.
Languages.
Yeah. Anyway.
You know, the guy in Stoke, the minister, you know, what's really cool is when you start to find out, what's really cool is when you can get information on the people themselves and what they did in their life and stuff. And he was a pretty accomplished minister and very pious guy, kind of very involved in the Reformation. Really kind of a cool story. You know, most of my people were just dirt farmers in Luxembourg, you know, so pretty boring stuff.
They were still Catholic, you know.
We were born to the purple.
Family crest beforehand. Had you seen that before?
So in researching, you know, I was just researching, you know, Roland is such an unusual name, the way they spell it. And so I just did a ton of research using quotes around Roland Craig and then Downpatrick, and, you know, and I came up with a gajillion things. And Google Books has all this stuff. And, you know, there's a book on the landed gentry and nobility of the United Kingdom in the 1700s. And another book on whatever. And this one was a book on Down Cathedral. And it actually talked about the family crest. And on the Family Search website, it even tells you like what the symbols mean on our family crest. I tried to link all these different things that I was finding into the Family Search site. And but it was in, you know, it said it's in the nave, and I go, oh my gosh, I got to write to that place. So I go on and find the email for the girl there, and
wow.
Yeah, so
that's amazing.
It's exciting. It was fun.
And
So
thanks to Ethan for his addition. That was really nicely done.
kudos.
Thank you.
Ethan. Rob is saying thank you for your addition.
You're welcome.
It helped. It was very good.
It's so great to see all of you too.
Yeah, sure is. Rob and I were saying that we ought to do this like, you know, maybe quarterly or semi-annually or something. Just have a different topic next time, you know?
Yeah, get more of the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Let's
Okay.
It's
Your
It'd be
your
turn,
fun just
hobby, all of you.
together and chat once a month.
Yeah, we've been doing chats with Joe's family every other week, and it's been awesome.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have to be super long. It's just like, hey, how's it going? What's doing? You know, it's been really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's in charge next time?
Rob.
You are.
Person that says it is it. Yeah, yeah.
Warlocks are in charge.
Okay, Warlocks will take it.
Okay.
We'll fight it out.
And we'll take that recording and we're going to make that available too. So as soon as we exit, it'll save it and be available.
Well, you
Great.
guys, like yesterday, Rob and I did a little preview thing. And when I just first saw his face, I told him it just like, my heart just felt so happy. It was like this little burst of happy. And I feel that same thing seeing everybody else's face too. So it was really fun. I love you all.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Okay.
Love
Have a
you
great
all
night.
so much.
Good week. Thanks again, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was amazing.
So welcome.
Safe,
Thanks for listening.
everybody.
Yeah.
All right. See everyone
Bye,
soon.
Bobby.
Love you.
Bye.
Too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.